Practicing medicine without insurance is possible. Imagine a private practice where you get to see your best patients every day, providing medical services you truly enjoy, all without the hassle of insurance. My name is Dr. T. Nguyen, and I'm a recovering specialist who was completely burned out from insurance-based medicine. I pivoted into direct care, where patients pay me directly for my medical services and have never looked back. If you're a private practice owner or planning to become one who's looking to be free of the grind of insurance and you're craving simplicity, efficiency, and connection with patients, you are in the right place. This podcast will help you map out your exit plan and uncover the mindset needed to thrive in today's economy. Welcome to the Direct Care Podcast for Specialists. If I could only give one advice to the person I deeply care about, it would be this. It would be to only do work that lights you up. Now, this can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. It doesn't mean to avoid the hard things. It just means to do work that deeply resonates with you. Because if you have just this one chance to live, why not make it meaningful for you? And oftentimes we catch ourselves doing work we hate. And I don't know if you're in that situation right now, but if you're doing work that you hate so that you can get paid, pay the bills, take care of your family, I completely understand it. And I'm not dismissing the fact that sometimes we gotta do stuff that we don't like. But at some point, at some time in your adulthood, you have to be able to reflect back and ask yourself, are you living a meaningful life? Because if you're not, then you'll soon realize you're sacrificing a lot. You're sacrificing your mental health, your relationships with others, and the purpose as to why you're here. Some people don't know that they even have a purpose to begin with at all. They think their purpose is their work. That might be true, that might not be. But if you're not doing work that lights you up, you're probably not even showing up at 100% in the work that you are doing. And that can feel very unfulfilling. So that would be the one advice I have to give. Do work that's meaningful to you, something that makes your nerves feel good, feels in alignment with where you want to end up before, listen, we're all gonna die. So before we meet our maker, before we croak, before the world ends, I would say focus on doing the thing that really brings joy to you. A little bit about me. I'm a first generation Asian American. So my parents did all the heavy lifting. They essentially escaped a communist country, Vietnam, not knowing if they were going to survive that escape. And a lot of people didn't. They have a lot of friends who, I think they were in their 20s at the time trying to escape. Many had small children. Many had to leave their families behind for a better life. Many didn't know if they were going to survive the escape, which was going on a boat. My father-in-law shared with me that the boat that they were on, it's a small boat. I don't even know if it was like 6 feet, but oftentimes it held like 100 plus people. It met capacity. And sometimes if they really pushed for the weight, the boat capsized. Some people didn't make it. But that was the situation they were in. Everybody was desperately trying to leave, trying to flee the country to another place. And I feel very fortunate that my parents survived that situation, and also my husband's parents survived that situation. And so their circumstances are vastly different than what we have today. Today, we have the world at our fingertips. If there's a problem we can't solve, we can at least Google it and look for help. Or we go to YouTube for video tutorials, or we go to a podcast to learn about something. There's an abundance of information out there that we have more now than ever compared to what our parents' generation and prior generations have had. And I don't think my parents came here so that I can continue to suffer, to live a life that is only halfway met, to just survive. I truly think maybe they didn't see it at the time, but their vision of having a new future entailed me and their children and their children's children to have a better life. Having a better life is not simply having the mindset that they had when they had to escape something incredibly tragic that was going to either lead them to their own demise if they stayed, or they die trying to escape. So I think it's really important that whatever you carry with you, yes, it comes from something that your parents gave you or their grandparents gave you, right? It's this kind of historical trauma. But just because we had lived through that growing up doesn't mean we have to continue to perpetuate that in our current life and then into our children and their children's generation. So it's really important that in each wave of generation, we need to evolve. We need to evolve in the way we think about what life is supposed to look like. Evaluate, are we truly just trying to survive, or can we break that generational trauma and learn how to thrive? And I feel the best way to thrive is not just to tell you to be grateful for what you have. That is definitely part of it. Having gratitude for what you do have is a kind of therapy that you can derive from yourself, which I think is incredibly amazing. You can make that shift yourself. But also to recognize that you carry within you something of value. You have to tap into what that is. What lights you up? What can you do where you're just naturally doing it with very minimal effort because you love it so much? I didn't mention that you had to be good at it. You absolutely don't have to be good at whatever it is that lights you up. In fact, if you suck, who cares? As long as you're working to get better, you're working to evolve yourself and the lens of the world that you see, as long as you're experiencing the life you're supposed to be experiencing, and this goes beyond the walls of your business, it's living life. And yes, sleeping in our work consumes a lot of our time in the day. And so if that does, why not do the thing that you love doing and stick with it and believe and trust that that's exactly why you're here. You have to discover what lights you up. And for myself, I didn't know what lights me up. And I really despised it when somebody would say, oh, I always knew I wanted to do this. I always knew blah, 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 right? Like they had a calling, they had a little ticket that helped them get on that express train to success because they like knew something, they had an inner trust. I didn't have that. I had to do a lot of discovering. I started my career, I went to undergrad, I was a pharmacy tech, thought I was going to go into pharmaceuticals, science/pharmacy school/research bench, blah, blah, blah. And then I finally stumbled along podiatry, and that was kind of an accident. It wasn't something I was looking for. I never wanted to go to medical school, but I found myself applying to podiatry school, and I just said, okay, I guess this is it. But it wasn't like the ticket to a better life. It was just something that I did, and it's through the actions that I took that helped me refine where I was going. So it's the action that creates the clarity and the answers. And I share that because I think a lot of us are misled to believe in this fairy tale of a story where our soul's purpose is given to us and we're just supposed to fulfill that and do that thing. But what if you have no idea what that thing is? We're screwed? No, I refuse to believe that. You just got to do the stuff, right? You go through the stages, you figure stuff out, you're trying to survive, and eventually you hit a tipping point, as Maxwell Gladwell describes it. You get to a point where it's the tipping point that all of the things that you've done up till now will eventually tilt the balance in your favor, the tipping point, and where all else falls into place. And I'm told that in this lifetime, we go through 3 different kind of phases of life. The first phase, from ages 0 to, let's say, 30, we are in self-discovery mode. We are rebellious. We are exploring. We're not quite clear on what it is we're supposed to be doing or what we are doing. And that's, you've got decades to figure that out. The second stage, which is the stage I'm in, it's the between 30s to 60s, or maybe 40s to 60s. We start to get more confident in what we do and what we know, and we assert ourselves. This is who we are. These are the beliefs we have. I'm firmly aware that this is just who I am now. And so you start living in that kind of way, in that life with that belief, and it feels a lot more steady, like the roots have taken. And then there's the third phase, which is 60 and beyond. I'm not sure if I got the ages right, but nonetheless, the third phase of our life, we are truly enjoying it. We are truly thriving. The life that we have created that led us up to this point should have given us a life where we are finally at peace with all of those decisions, good and bad, mistakes and successes. And you're kind of smooth sailing, and then you retire, right? Think of life like that. You've got your 3 stages of life. And these are not exact ages. They're not exact numbers. It's a theory. But yeah, you go through a period of self-discovery, and then you finally find your place, and then you really buy into that, or you really lean into that. And then eventually you get to the point where you're close to retirement and really being able to reflect back on all that you've done, all of the knowledge you've accumulated, all of the experiences up to then. And then you realize you were right all along. You were on the right path all along. I mean, do you really want to get to the end and say, oops, maybe I shouldn't have? Right? So now's the opportunity. I know you're not retired. Those who are listening, you still have opportunity. And I'm not saying that like you hit 40 and the light bulb goes off. It might go off at 50. It might have gone off at 20. Everyone's a little bit different. But the idea is this is life, the waves, the motion, the energies that we put out. And it's really important to just accept and maybe surrender. Surrender to that we're doing the best with what we can, with what we have. And then kind of honing back onto what's going on inside of you. Are you living in your purpose? Are you doing things that light you up? Because you'll find that once you start to put everything into what lights you up, you're going to find success a lot faster. It's going to be so easy to continue to do this work rather than doing work that you can't stand, that you resent, that makes it hard for you to wake up every morning, that then causes you mental health problems, causes you physical health problems. And then suddenly you feel like all has gone to waste because you didn't do the thing that you really enjoyed. So please take a moment and write out what truly lights you up. And is your current practice allowing you to have that kind of life? I know for me, when I was taking insurance, I had no time to think. I had no time to self-reflect. I had no time to really focus on the things that I wanted to do, that I deeply wanted to focus on. I only was able to do things to survive, to pay the bills, to pay my staff. And there really wasn't enough left over at the end of the day for me to ask myself those deep questions as to what's really lighting me up. In fact, that was never a question for the longest time because I saw it with my parents. They just did what they had to do to survive. And I thought with that generational trauma that I too also had to do what I needed to do to survive. And I didn't understand there was another side to once you have all of the pieces to survive that you can actually start to thrive, and you should be thriving. Again, we have all these resources to help us. So why not take advantage of it now? Break that generational cycle in believing that we have to hustle hard to have a good life and let go of all of that dogma and say, no, we can actually have a good life right now. I can start saying no to things that don't light me up, and I can focus on the few things that truly brings me joy. And maybe for you, you're dealing with a lot of things that's tied to insurance, the cost of business going up. It's exhausting to keep up with all of the staff demands too, like increasing wages, training, and so on. And being able to have a really simplified business allows me, and it will allow you to also have this time to reflect and hone in on the stuff that you truly love doing. That is my firm belief that direct care will save doctors from burnout because doctors are burning out when they're doing things that are not in alignment with what they truly love. If you're constantly in survival mode, you burn out a lot faster. And then you pass that down on to future generations. How you show up in your business is going to be reflected in the way you treat yourself, in the way you show up in your private life. It's all connected. So to truly live a fulfilling life, your business must also bring you joy. And if it's not, trace it back to what it is. Is it because you're doing a lot of stuff that you don't love? Does it so happen to be tied down to insurance? And I'm willing to bet for a lot of you that all of the frustrations you have in medicine, there is a common thread. It's probably because of insurance. That's my argument, and I'm sticking to it. And I'll even challenge you to write down all the things that you don't love about your current practice right now, like the number of no-shows, like people not paying their copay, like the entitlement patients have when they walk in, or just the general attitude that they have towards doctors who are trying to help them. Write it all down, all the things that frustrate you, and send me an email, and I will show you exactly why those frustrations are tied to insurance. You'll see. Connect with me down below. I hope to have more conversations with you on LinkedIn or privately if you decide to join my program. That's all I've got for today. Thanks so much for listening. I'll check back with you next week. Take care. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a review and share it with a friend so more doctors can learn about direct care. Let's keep the conversation going on LinkedIn so we can help more doctors escape insurance and thrive in private practice. Thanks for listening. I'll talk with you next time. Take care.